Thank you for the introduction, Toastmaster. I've been involved in a lot of activities over the years. Way back, 25 years ago, I was really involved in caving. Caving, as cavers like to call it, it's not spelunking. Caving is what a trained caver does. Spelunking is an untrained caver. Now, I lived out in the Chicago suburbs, and we traveled a lot. Down south, Indiana, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. Got me to thinking. I was involved in a lot of activities. How are all of these activities connected? Well, let's go on a journey down to Harrison Crawford State Forest in Indiana. As you go south to the bottom part of Indiana, right across the border is Kentucky, and there's Harrison Crawford State Forest. And one of my friends did a lot of research. We found there were several caves there. We'd go drive our 5-hour drive, park our vehicle, camp on the side of the road, wake up really early in the morning, put on our backpacks. Back when I started, I just used my JanSport school backpack. We'd shove our ropes in the bag, our knee pads, a couple extra lights, a helmet, and we would trudge through the forest in the heat and humidity, sweating. Oh, I hate the heat. When I get hot, that is my most uncomfortable that I'll ever be. My friends all really enjoyed that. So trudging through the forest, we went hunting for 2 caves that we were told about. One was called Ted's Dig. Now, I bet you can't guess why it's called Ted's Dig. Yeah, you're right. A guy named Ted actually found this hole where air was blowing out, and he went there for a whole summer and dug until he could get into the cave. Well, my friend Gino and I went there. We crawled in the entranceway that was now big enough for people to crawl through, drug our backpacks in with our gear, and we explored this cave. The cave had a waterfall at one point that we rappelled down and explored beyond. We found other passageways that were muddy and we had to crawl. Right at the entranceway, we found that as we went in, if we went to the left, we found another tight bend in a keyhole style crawl that we could crawl on the top part of this keyhole, and it made a right, and that was with our heads sticking in just to see where it would go. So Gino and I on one trip decided, let's explore this and see where it goes, because we could feel some air coming out, just like Ted did when he discovered this cave. Well, I said, I'll go give it a shot. Let's see if I can get in there. Gino's outside of this really tight passageway waiting for me. I crawl in, and it makes a hard right about a body length in. And I make that hard right, and then it makes a left, another body length in. And at that point, I make the left, and Gino says to me, Tom, I can hear your heartbeat. Be quiet, Gino. I'm jammed in the keyhole. Well, I pried myself out, pushing up with my arm to lift my body out of the keyhole and out. Yeah, I could feel my heartbeat too on my ribs. That was incredibly uncomfortable. What does this have to do with connecting my activities? Well, remember, I came with that JanSport backpack. We were getting pretty serious into caving. And I saw a lot of the other cavers had these custom-made backpacks. Some were dry bags that you'd use for canoeing or kayaking. Others were ballistic nylon. And I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my own backpack because I'm cheap. and I want to save money, and nothing out there is what I want. Well, I didn't know how to sew, but I went to the store and I bought a dry bag. And I went to my friend's mom, who had a really high quality sewing machine, and she helped me sew on seatbelt webbing onto the dry bag to make it into a backpack. The next thing I did was, well, I'd been using jeans that whole time. There were lots of holes in my jeans. I said, I'll get some ballistic nylon and I'll make pants. That'll be easy. So I went to another friend's house and bought a pattern, McCall's pants, and diagrammed out. I don't know if any of you have ever made clothing. I thought, this is going to be really easy. I'll just follow the pattern. And I stitched together these pants. The waist was about this low. So no problem. They weren't for fashion. I sewed on an additional 2 or 3 inches onto the top of those pants. I've been doing this ever since, taking every activity that I do, adding on and connecting it to another activity like sewing. The latest was sewing quilts. My wife decided tent camping wasn't for her, but if we got a pop-up camper, that would be perfect. So we did. But in that camper, we'd get cold camping here in Colorado. I went to the quilting store, bought all of the fabrics with colorful patterns and animals, and sewed up a quilt. Went and took a long arm sewing class to learn how to put together a quilt. It's pretty cool being able to connect all of these different hobbies together. I've been doing this for years, taking some fun activity that I like to do and then building new pieces, backpacks and pants and quilts to help support those hobbies. What kinds of things do you do to connect your activities and hobbies together?
Very good.